Welcome to Peaceful Soul. Today, we'll explore natural ways to care for your mental health, gentle, simple practices that bring balance, calm, and healing into your everyday life. Have you ever wondered why your body feels so exhausted that all you want to do is lie down, even after a long night's sleep? Have you ever felt like life suddenly lost its meaning? Everything became heavy, and you had no motivation to do anything at all? If your answer is yes, then congratulations, you're on a journey that almost all of us, whether a doctor, a teacher, or an office worker, will experience at least once in our lifetime: the journey of facing our own mental health. The problem is, when people talk about health, most only think about blood pressure, heart health, blood sugar levels, body weight, and forget that the mind and the body are two sides of the same coin. And when one side is scratched, the other will inevitably be affected. In over 20 years of practicing medicine, I have met thousands of patients. They came to me with headaches, insomnia, digestive disorders, or joint pain. But as I listened more deeply, I realized that the root of their problems lay in the gradual erosion of their mental well-being, something no blood test or MRI scan can truly measure. And today, I want to share with you a different approach, one that doesn't cost a fortune, doesn't rely entirely on medication, but does require one thing from you: a commitment to yourself. It's called natural healing therapy, a method that awakens the body's innate self-healing mechanisms gifted to us by nature, allowing you to live healthier, more fully, and more sustainably. Before you think this is just another feel-good lecture, let me tell you the story of a marketing executive who once sat in a wheelchair due to a cervical disc herniation, yet recovered almost completely without surgery, simply by changing the way she cared for herself each day. And I believe, once you hear her story, you'll want to start your own transformation journey, beginning today. When it comes to healthcare, most people immediately think of hospitals, medication, lab tests, and the latest medical treatments. However, within the world of medicine, there is another approach, quiet yet enduring, known as natural healing therapy. So, what exactly is natural healing therapy? Put simply, it is an approach that taps into and awakens the body's innate self-healing mechanisms rather than relying entirely on drugs or surgery. The human body was designed by nature as a remarkable system, capable of self-regulation and self-repair when something goes wrong, as long as we create the right conditions for it to function as intended. At its core, natural healing therapy uses little to no medication. Instead, it focuses on recovery methods that avoid long-term side effects while working holistically, not just soothing symptoms but addressing the root causes of the problem. When applied correctly, it always views the body and mind as a unified system, where physical and mental health constantly influence each other. The methods in this therapy are diverse, from yoga and meditation that strengthen the body and release tension, to nutritional adjustments that reduce inflammation and boost immunity, to acupressure, reflexology, and qigong that stimulate natural reflexes, and even lifestyle changes such as getting enough sleep, exercising daily, and reducing prolonged stress. From a scientific perspective, our bodies possess astonishing self-healing mechanisms: the immune system that identifies and eliminates pathogens, tissue repair processes that allow cells to regenerate and heal injuries, and the neuroendocrine system that regulates stress responses to maintain internal balance. When the body is well rested, properly nourished, and emotionally stable, all these systems function at their best. But if you are constantly stressed, eat irregularly, and sleep poorly, these systems weaken, and illness will inevitably find its way in. I vividly remember John Anderson, a 42-year-old CEO of a major construction firm in Texas. John came to me after suffering from chronic gastritis for 5 years. He had tried every medication available, yet each time he stopped taking them, the pain returned. When I sat down and truly listened to his story, I realized the cause wasn't just in his stomach, it was in the way he lived, working 12 to 14 hours a day, eating at irregular hours, often skipping lunch, and constantly being under pressure from multi-million-dollar projects. I recommended that John adopt a natural healing approach, starting by reducing his work hours, practicing 10 minutes of breathing exercises each morning, changing to an anti-inflammatory diet, and attending yoga classes twice a week. 6 months later, John returned with an endoscopy report showing a fully healed stomach, no ulcers, and, more importantly, he had lost 13 pounds, slept better, and felt far more at ease mentally. It is called natural because it does not force the body with strong chemicals unless absolutely necessary. It avoids interfering too deeply with the body's built-in systems, and it always works in harmony with human biological rhythms and the laws of nature. In short, natural health care does not mean abandoning modern medicine. It means skillfully combining medical science with the body's own self-repair abilities. It is a path that helps you not only treat illness but live in a way where you rarely need treatment at all. So, what is the connection between physical health and mental health? When I first entered the medical field, I believed that the cause of most illnesses could be found in a lab test or diagnostic image, that as long as we could identify a bacterium, a virus, or tissue damage, we could solve the problem. But the longer I worked, the more I realized a different reality. As much as 75% of health problems stem from habits and lifestyle choices. And here's the key. Those habits are deeply influenced by a person's mental state. Imagine your body and mind as two gears in a complex machine. When one gear is worn, misaligned, or stuck, the other will inevitably be affected. If the mind is in a state of prolonged stress, cortisol and adrenaline levels stay elevated, which can increase blood pressure, disrupt blood sugar regulation, weaken immunity, and promote inflammation. Over time, the body begins to show symptoms: insomnia, headaches, digestive issues, muscle and joint pain, even hormonal imbalances. Conversely, when the body suffers from chronic pain or illness, the mind is also worn down, leading to fatigue, loss of motivation, or even depression. Science has confirmed this connection through the field of psychosomatic medicine. Studies show that people under chronic stress have a higher risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, irritable bowel syndrome, and many other conditions. Prolonged stress increases the activity of the sympathetic nervous system, causing a rapid heartbeat, constricted blood vessels, and elevated blood pressure, while suppressing immune function, making the body more vulnerable to illness. I vividly remember the case of Sarah Miller, a 35-year-old elementary school teacher from California. Sarah came to me with chronic neck and shoulder tension, dizziness, and insomnia. Her blood tests and MRI scans were all normal. If we had looked only at the test results, any doctor might have concluded, nothing is wrong, and sent her home. But when I sat down for a deeper conversation, Sarah revealed that for the past 2 years, she had been teaching online during the pandemic, caring for her elderly mother with a serious illness, and constantly worrying about her students. The ongoing stress had kept her muscles in a constant state of tension, her nervous system never truly relaxing, and this was exactly what produced her physical symptoms. Sarah's case is a textbook example of somatization, when repressed emotions, anxiety, or mental strain are translated into physical symptoms. This is not imagination or mental weakness, as some might think. It is a real physiological response, measurable through biochemical markers, neural activity, and immune reactions. Another case I recall is Daniel Brooks, a 46-year-old sales director in New York. Daniel came to me with recurring digestive issues, especially abdominal pain and diarrhea, whenever he was about to give a presentation or close a major deal. Endoscopy and lab results were completely normal. The real cause lay in his body's fight or flight response, which was triggered every time he faced high-pressure situations. When the sympathetic nervous system is overactive, blood is diverted to large muscles in preparation for an emergency, slowing or disrupting digestion and producing the exact symptoms Daniel experienced. This shows that to treat a physical problem, we sometimes need to start with the mind. In natural healing therapy, I always consider emotional stability and stress reduction as foundational steps before moving on to other methods such as nutritional changes, exercise, or musculoskeletal treatments. When the mind is in a positive state, the body produces beneficial hormones like endorphins, which relieve pain and promote happiness, serotonin, which regulates mood and sleep, and oxytocin, which enhances social bonding and reduces stress. These hormones not only make you feel better but also improve immunity and speed up recovery. Conversely, when mental health is eroded, stress hormones like cortisol remain elevated, disrupting metabolism. promoting abdominal fat accumulation, increasing the risk of cardiovascular disease, and slowing the healing process. From clinical experience, I've found that only when patients truly understand this mind-body connection do they begin to change their habits. One patient who had been taking painkillers daily for chronic headaches was able to cut the dose in half after just 3 months of breathing exercises, meditation, and a better daily routine. Another patient with hypertension managed to keep blood pressure stable for 2 years without increasing medication by combining yoga, healthy eating, and dedicating time to personal hobbies. That's why, in every health care plan, I emphasize that physical and mental health are inseparable. We cannot take care of one side and expect the other to balance itself. The body and mind are 2 parts of the same system, and to be truly healthy, we must nurture both. Next, let's explore how to recognize mental health problems. Early detection of mental health issues is the most important step in preventing a cascade of physical illnesses that may develop later. The challenge is that many people overlook this, not because they intentionally ignore it, but because the warning signs of declining mental health are often subtle, gradual, and easily mistaken for ordinary physical issues. In medicine, we often say the body knows how to talk to you, but not everyone understands its language. When a patient comes in with back pain, headaches, or digestive problems, their first instinct is to search for a physical cause, like a herniated disc, gastritis, or high blood pressure. However, in many cases, the true root lies in the psychological state, and if we fail to address it, all physical treatments will be only temporary. I clearly remember Michael Turner, a 38-year-old software engineer from Seattle. Michael walked into my clinic looking gaunt, with dark circles under his eyes and a slight hunch in his posture. He told me that for the past 6 months, he had been constantly fatigued, with dull lower back pain that sometimes radiated down his leg. He had already visited 2 major hospitals, undergone full testing, and even had an MRI, yet his spine was completely normal. As I listened, I learned that he had just gone through a stressful divorce and was under intense pressure at work, staying up late, skipping meals, and hardly exercising. This was the perfect recipe for developing musculoskeletal problems from prolonged muscle tension and overstimulated nerves. The real issue is that most of us are not trained to listen to our bodies and connect with our emotions. In natural healing therapy, I often advise patients to ask themselves a set of questions whenever they notice unusual symptoms. Where is this pain located? Does it move or spread? Does the pain ease with rest, meditation, or deep breathing? Along with the pain, am I feeling anxious, irritated, or sad? How long has this been going on? And is it related to any recent emotional event? These questions may seem simple, but they help you identify the link between the physical and the mental. For example, if headaches appear every time you speak in front of a crowd, it might be linked to social anxiety. If stomach pain flares up before an important meeting, you could be experiencing a temporary stress response. Another key sign is a change in motivation and joy for life. If you wake up one morning and your once loved job suddenly feels like a heavy burden, or you lose interest in activities that used to bring happiness, it's time to pay attention. When these changes last for more than 2 weeks and are accompanied by sleep disturbances, weight changes, or increased irritability, they may indicate mild depression or burnout syndrome. I once treated Lisa Brown, a 29-year-old communications professional from Chicago. Lisa never thought she had a mental health problem. She was still going to work regularly and meeting deadlines. Yet she was constantly catching colds, getting sore throats, and developing unexplained skin rashes. Through our conversations, I discovered she was under enormous pressure from a work project and so anxious that she clenched her jaw at night. The prolonged stress had weakened her immune system, making her more prone to infections and allergic reactions. Only after Lisa began practicing relaxation through meditation, light morning yoga, and reducing her work hours did her symptoms begin to disappear. Recognizing mental health issues early not only improves quality of life but also prevents long-term illnesses. When the mind is well cared for, the body releases beneficial hormones and neurotransmitters that reduce inflammation, strengthen immunity, and optimize metabolism. Conversely, ignoring these mental warning signs forces the body to bear the consequences for years, sometimes for life. The key here is building the habit of self-observation, spending a few minutes each day checking in on your emotions, energy, and physical sensations. It's like checking the dashboard of your car, catching a warning light before a serious breakdown occurs. In natural healing therapy, this is considered the foundational step before applying any other form of treatment. Now, let's explore the role of life energy in health. In over 20 years of practicing medicine, I've realized something no medical textbook can fully convey: to live a truly healthy life, you don't just need a strong heart, a well-functioning immune system, or a balanced diet. You also need something intangible yet profoundly important: life energy. This is what determines whether you wake up in the morning feeling refreshed or drained, how quickly you recover from illness, and whether you live proactively or merely exist. The concept of life energy has existed for thousands of years in traditional medicine. In traditional Chinese medicine, it is called qi; in India's Ayurveda, it's prana; and in modern Western science, we might describe it as the sum of our physical, mental, and biochemical states. Although the terminology differs, the essence is the same. Life energy is the inner force that allows the body to function, self-heal, and stay in harmony with its environment. Biologically, life energy can be understood through three pillars. 1. Cellular metabolism, how the body produces ATP, the energy currency that fuels every activity. 2. Neuroendocrine balance, the harmony between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems to regulate energy use effectively. 3. Mental and emotional state, motivation, feelings, and outlook on life directly influence how energy is spent or replenished. The interesting part is that life energy doesn't depend solely on what you eat or how long you sleep. It also depends on the quality of your relationships, your living environment, and how you handle stress. A person might eat well and exercise regularly, but if they live in a toxic emotional environment or remain under constant pressure, their life energy will still be depleted rapidly. I think of James Harris, a 52-year-old successful businessman in Boston. James came to me complaining of persistent fatigue, poor concentration, and frequent colds. His blood work, liver, kidney, and cardiovascular tests were all normal. During our conversation, I discovered he had almost no personal downtime. His schedule was packed with back-to-back meetings, rushed meals at his desk, and no real recovery periods. The problem wasn't purely physical or nutritional. It was that his life energy had been drained continuously without being replenished. You can think of life energy as the money in your bank account. Every daily activity, from thinking, feeling, and moving to digesting food, is a withdrawal. If you don't deposit energy through quality sleep, nutritious food, relaxation activities, and positive relationships, your energy account will run dry. When that happens, the body will send alarm signals in the form of chronic fatigue, frequent illness, insomnia, or mood disorders. The good news is that life energy can be restored if you know how. In natural healing therapy, I often guide patients through the following steps. Get enough deep sleep. Prioritize sleep quality, as this is when the body regenerates energy most effectively. Eat a balanced diet. Supply the body with essential vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants to nourish cells. Exercise appropriately. Engage in moderate physical activity. Overexercising can drain energy instead of boosting it. Manage stress. Use meditation, deep breathing, or journaling to release mental tension. Build positive connections. Spend time with family, friends, or communities that share your interests. A success story I recall is Karen White, a 44-year-old bank employee in Texas. When we met, Karen often felt exhausted despite sleeping 8 hours a night. Upon closer look, her sleep wasn't deep. She ate mostly processed foods, and she rarely exercised. We began by improving her sleep quality, shifting her diet toward more vegetables, high-quality protein, and less sugar, and adding a 20-minute morning walk. After just 2 months, Karen felt mentally refreshed, more focused, and, most importantly, her life energy had noticeably increased. The key takeaway is that life energy is not an abstract concept reserved for Eastern philosophy. It is a tangible part of human physiology. An imbalance in life energy doesn't just make you tired, it paves the way for numerous illnesses. from cardiovascular diseases and hormonal disorders to weakened immunity. On the other hand, when your life energy is abundant, every system in your body works smoothly, helping you fight disease and enjoy life to its fullest. What are the core principles of natural healing therapy? On the journey to better health, many people believe that all it takes to stay well is eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, and going for an occasional checkup. But after more than 20 years of practice, I've realized that without a set of core guiding principles to shape every action, health efforts can become scattered, inconsistent, and less effective in the long term. This is where natural healing therapy serves as a compass, because it's based on respecting the body's innate self-healing mechanisms and living in harmony with nature. In natural healing therapy, there are 5 core principles that anyone wishing to follow this path should understand. 1. Respect the body's self-healing mechanisms. The human body is a complex yet remarkably intelligent biological system. It can clot blood, regenerate tissue, fight off bacteria, and correct minor imbalances, if given the right conditions. The first principle is not to over-intervene when the body is already in the process of healing itself, unless the situation is life-threatening. For example, a mild fever is often the immune system's way of destroying bacteria or viruses. Instead of rushing to take strong fever-reducing drugs, natural healing therapy encourages supporting the body with rest, hydration, balanced nutrition, and close observation. This approach not only shortens recovery time but also strengthens long-term immunity. 2. Address the root cause, not just the symptoms. Modern medicine often focuses on alleviating symptoms, which is necessary in certain situations, but stopping there makes relapse more likely. Natural healing therapy emphasizes uncovering and resolving the deeper cause. I once treated David Collins, a 41-year-old IT professional from Florida, who suffered from frequent headaches. Instead of simply prescribing painkillers, I examined his work schedule, sleep patterns, diet, and mental state. The main triggers turned out to be drinking 4 to 5 cups of coffee a day and chronic work stress, which caused his brain's blood vessels to constrict. We gradually reduced his caffeine intake, incorporated breathing exercises, and added light physical activity. His headaches disappeared without long-term medication. 3. Balance physical, mental, and emotional health. Natural healing therapy views a person as an integrated whole, where body and mind constantly influence each other. Treating the body while ignoring the mind is like fixing a broken fan blade without checking the motor. Practices like meditation, yoga, qigong, or simply spending 10 minutes a day on deep breathing and relaxation can help balance the autonomic nervous system, stabilize heart rate and blood pressure, and boost immune function. This is why many patients who follow this approach experience a significant reduction in chronic pain or digestive issues. 4. Live in harmony with nature and your biological rhythms. Humans are part of nature, but modern life often pulls us away from our natural biological rhythms. Working late into the night, eating at irregular times, and overexposure to artificial light all disrupt the body's internal clock. Natural healing therapy encourages aligning daily habits with circadian rhythms, going to bed early and waking up early, eating at regular times, maximizing exposure to natural light during the day, and reducing blue light before bedtime. Studies show that simply improving sleep in sync with natural rhythms can lower the risk of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and depression. 5. Be proactive in prevention rather than waiting to treat. The final, and perhaps most important, principle is preventing illness by maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Instead of waiting for your body to speak up before making changes, treat healthcare as a long-term investment. This means eating a diet rich in vegetables and whole foods, engaging in daily moderate exercise, managing stress, and getting regular health checkups. Prevention not only avoids illness but also saves time, money, and emotional strain. I recall the case of Emily Johnson, a 36-year-old designer from Colorado with a family history of type 2 diabetes. Instead of waiting for her blood sugar to rise, she adopted a low-sugar diet, practiced Pilates 3 times a week, and regularly took part in outdoor activities. 7 years later, Emily still maintains healthy blood sugar levels without needing any medication. What practical methods can be applied in natural healing therapy? Once you've grasped the core principles of natural healing therapy, The next step is to put them into daily practice. The good news is, this doesn't require complicated medical equipment or specialized procedures. Instead, it's about adopting simple habits and methods that anyone can integrate into their lifestyle. Over my more than 2 decades of medical practice, I've experimented with and observed many different approaches. In the end, I've found a handful of basic yet highly effective methods that deliver long-term benefits for both body and mind. 1. Adjust your diet following the as natural as possible principle. Nutrition is the foundation of health. And in natural healing therapy, the first rule is to eat foods in their most natural state, minimizing processed items while prioritizing fresh vegetables, whole foods, and clean protein sources. A wholesome meal doesn't just nourish your cells, it also helps maintain hormonal balance and stabilize your life energy. For example, I met Jennifer Lee, a 40-year-old marketing professional in San Francisco, who constantly felt fatigued despite getting enough sleep and having no major illnesses. Upon reviewing her diet, I realized most of her energy came from sweets, coffee, and canned goods. We gradually replaced these with leafy greens, whole grains, salmon, and fresh fruit. After 6 weeks, Jennifer felt more alert and no longer depended on coffee to start her day. 2. Move in harmony with your biological rhythms. The human body is designed for movement, but not through forced, excessive workouts. Instead, movement should be in sync with your natural biological rhythms. This means doing light activities in the morning, such as walking, yoga, or stretching, to wake the body up, and saving more intense exercises, like running or resistance training, for the late afternoon, when body temperature and muscle strength peak. For instance, Mark Wilson, 50, from Arizona, used to hit the gym late at night after work, but this habit disrupted his sleep and left him groggy the next morning. After switching to light morning runs and resistance training in the late afternoon, Mark began sleeping better and felt more energized within just 3 weeks. 3. Practice active relaxation. Relaxation doesn't just mean watching TV or scrolling online. It involves activities that activate the parasympathetic nervous system, supporting the body's recovery process. Techniques like mindfulness meditation, deep breathing, or simply sitting quietly in a peaceful space are among the most effective ways to reduce cortisol and steady your heart rate. I once taught Laura Adams, 35, from Chicago, the 4-7-8 breathing method before bedtime. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, and exhale for 8 seconds. Within just 10 days, Laura experienced better sleep and fewer nighttime anxiety episodes. 4. Reconnect with nature. Humans are inherently part of nature, and when separated from sunlight, greenery, and fresh air, the body gradually loses balance. Spending at least 20 to 30 minutes a day in natural light, walking in a park, or tending plants at home can boost vitamin D production, improve mood, and lower stress. For example, William Scott, 47, worked for years in a closed office environment and suffered from frequent headaches and fatigue. When he started taking morning walks in a nearby park and going on short weekend camping trips, his symptoms noticeably decreased within 2 months, and his mood improved significantly. 5. Manage relationships and your emotional environment. Life energy doesn't just come from food and sleep, it also comes from the quality of your relationships and your emotional environment. If you're constantly exposed to negativity, such as pressure, conflict, or toxic environments, your body responds with prolonged stress hormone release. Conversely, maintaining positive, supportive relationships stimulates the release of oxytocin, which boosts happiness and improves heart health. Now, let's hear a real-life story of recovery through natural healing therapy over the course of my medical career. I have witnessed many stories that still move me every time I recall them. One that stands out is the story of Robert Miller, a 55-year-old man from Portland, Oregon. Robert was once a renowned photographer, traveling the globe to capture stunning moments. But his life changed drastically when he developed what modern medicine calls chronic fatigue syndrome, accompanied by sleep disorders and mild depression. It all began about 4 years ago. After Robert returned from a long assignment in Africa, he felt exhausted, assuming a few weeks of rest would restore his energy. But instead of improving, his fatigue worsened. He began experiencing insomnia, waking up around 2 or 3 a.m. and unable to fall back asleep. By morning, his body felt like it was falling apart, and his mood grew heavier each day. Robert went to multiple hospitals, underwent a battery of tests, and yet every result came back normal. Doctors prescribed sedatives, vitamins, and even some psychotherapy sessions. But the relief only lasted a few days. When Robert came to see me, his eyes carried the weight of deep disappointment, and his hands trembled slightly from lack of sleep. I knew this was a case that required absolute patience, because natural healing therapy doesn't promise overnight miracles, but instead builds a strong foundation for sustainable recovery. We started by reevaluating his entire lifestyle, and I quickly realized that Robert was living completely out of sync with his natural biological rhythm. He had a habit of editing photos until 1 to 2 a.m., eating irregularly, and spending almost no time in natural sunlight. Our recovery plan had 3 main components. 1. Restoring his circadian rhythm, going to bed before 11 p.m., waking up at the same time every morning, and spending at least 30 minutes outdoors to absorb natural light. 2. Improving nutrition, replacing fast food and afternoon coffee with nutrient-rich foods such as leafy greens, ocean fish, whole grains, and drastically reducing refined sugar. 3. Managing stress and rebuilding life energy, practicing deep breathing meditation twice a day, taking light walks, and using landscape photography as a form of art therapy. In the first weeks, Robert admitted it was difficult to adjust, especially breaking his late-night routine and cutting down on coffee. But he stayed committed, and after about a month, he began sleeping more deeply, staying asleep until morning without waking in the middle of the night. His daytime energy noticeably increased, and his mood became more stable. 3 months later, Robert returned to my office with a bright smile. He handed me a photo album documenting his recovery journey. Each image was proof that when the body and mind are placed in a supportive environment, the self-healing power within us can truly flourish. He told me that he not only felt physically stronger, but he had also rediscovered the joy of living he had lost for years and, most importantly, he had learned to listen to his body to avoid falling back into the cycle of illness. Robert's story is not an isolated case, it is a vivid example of the power of natural healing therapy. It shows that recovery doesn't come from a single, miracle pill, but from a series of small, consistent adjustments made every day. And when those adjustments work in harmony, they can completely transform a person's life. Looking back on the journey of exploring and practicing natural healing therapy. When we look back at the entire journey of exploring and applying natural healing therapy, it becomes clear that health is not a fixed gift, it is the result of the small choices we make every single day. Over time, those choices add up to determine whether you will have a strong body and a clear, focused mind. Lesson 1. The human body has an incredible capacity to heal itself. Our role is not to replace that ability with excessive interventions, but to create the right conditions for it to function at its best. This means listening to the body's signals, respecting its need for rest, and not ignoring even the smallest changes in mood or physical state. Lesson 2. Physical and mental health are inseparable. You cannot have a truly healthy body if your mind is constantly fatigued and anxious, and it is equally hard to maintain a positive mindset if your body is in chronic pain or illness. Balance is the core element, and natural healing therapy helps maintain that balance by viewing a person as a unified whole. Lesson 3. Life energy is your most valuable asset. It doesn't just come from food or sleep, but also from your environment, your relationships, and how you respond to life's challenges. When your life energy is abundant, it becomes your strongest shield against illness and health decline. Lesson 4. Prevention is always easier and less costly than treatment. Investing in healthy habits now will save you from unexpected illnesses or long hospital stays. It safeguards not only your health but also your time and quality of life. From the stories of Robert, Lisa, and James, we see that change doesn't have to happen overnight. It comes from small steps repeated day after day. Every carefully chosen meal, every early morning spent breathing in fresh air, every moment of stillness and inner connection contributes to building a better version of yourself. And here's the closing message I want to leave you with. Health is a journey, not a destination. No one can live completely free from illness. But we can absolutely decide how we walk this path. You can let life carry you along passively. Or you can choose to take charge, caring for yourself each day in alignment with nature, so that every morning you wake up feeling energized and ready to embrace whatever comes your way. Remember, you are the best doctor of your own life. If you start today, even with just one small step, 1 year from now you will be amazed at the person you've become. And who knows, the next story of remarkable recovery could be yours. If you've made it this far, it means you truly care about your health and quality of life. So don't stop at simply listening, start taking action today. Choose one small natural living habit and practice it consistently for the next 7 days. Then, gradually build from there, and you will feel your body and mind begin to transform. You can also share this video with friends or loved ones so they can start their own healing journey. Leave a comment about your experience or any questions you have, and I'll be there to walk alongside you in the next videos. And if you want to keep receiving science-backed insights combined with real-world experience to live a healthier, happier life, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any new content. A vibrant, healthy, and fulfilling life is right in front of you, just waiting for you to reach out and take it.